Hi, and welcome to 15 questions about bike packing in France in 2025. Here we go. Question number one. Why did you choose France? Well, to be honest, we had never really traveled much in France, only in Paris. We thought, it's time to go and see it. That's reason number one. Reason number two is that we like to travel in Italy and Spain and other countries and so on, but I could speak a bit of French, so communication was by far easier. And next, we knew that the Loire River Valley has castles, so we chose that. Food and wine, of course. Who could beat French food and French wine, of course. And then finally, family. I have a brother who lives in Dijon. Question number two. Why did you choose the Loire River Valley to cycle on? Basically, the Loire River Valley is known as Europe's last wild river. In other words, it doesn't have canals, it doesn't have a lot of industry, etc. on it. And so we thought that it would be kind of this beautiful sort of wild area to go, and it was. We love history, castles, and so on. And where are you going to see so many castles within one relatively small area other than the Loire River Valley in France? Beautiful. Also, we were hoping, because it's a river like every other river around, that it is going to be relatively flat without hills. Very important. And we're right. Question number three. Did you train before starting? No, we did not. We don't actually have any bicycles here. And we were incredibly not ready for this trip. To be honest with you, in terms of the cycling itself, that was okay. It's tiring on the muscles for the first few days, but it's okay. Where it really was painful was our rear ends. Man, oh man, oh man. Like problems walking. And that went on certainly for about 2 weeks before that pain stopped. Question number four, how many kilometers would you do daily? So I really thought that we could probably do somewhere between, 40 and 50 kilometers a day. Given that, it's relatively flat, I was completely wrong. In the end, we did 15 to 20 kilometers a day. If where we wanted to go was further than that, we would just put the bikes on a train. We traveled slow, we stopped off, and so it took a lot longer than I thought it would. Question number five, did you bring your bike from Canada? No, as I said, we don't actually have bikes in Canada, so that wasn't an option. So our plan originally was to maybe rent bikes, but here in Canada, I just couldn't find, not really knowing anywhere to rent from. I felt a little bit of trepidation just handing over a bunch of cash from Canada to reserve a bike. And when we actually arrived in France and I tried to find rentals, they were all sold out, so that wasn't going to happen. So the next plan was to buy 2 bikes from Decathlon, a wonderful sports store, and, spread throughout France and other countries. And they had the perfect bike for us, and everything was great. And we went to Decathlon in Nantes at the beginning of the Loire River Valley, and they were all sold out of every conceivable possible bike that we could ever use, so that wasn't going to work. And so then, luckily, we found a sort of less well-known sports store, and they had kind of cheaper Chinese bikes. By cheap, I mean 350 to 400 euros a bike, and we just bought them. And then we used these kind of cheap bikes to go across. It was fine, no problem. Number 6, what was the security like if you stopped with your bikes at a castle? Well, we've seen other YouTube videos that kind of indicated that, maybe there was a problem. They weren't sure what to do with their bikes. So one of the party would stay with the bikes and packs while someone else would go to a castle. That's what we thought maybe we would have to do. But what we learned was that really the infrastructure for cycling in France is just incredible. So in pretty well every castle there was a place you could park your bike and lock it, and there were storage units, storage places for your backpack. So really no security problems at all. What did you bring with you? So question number 7. What did you bring with you? So we were there in the springtime, so we knew that the weather wouldn't be too cold or too hot, so we didn't have to bring a whole lot of clothing. We brought quick drying shirts and pants and that kind of thing. And then when we were in France, we bought kind of puffy, cycling shorts, which didn't work that well, I might add. 2 weeks of pain. Our backpacks are 40 liters, and they're just great. And we bought some bungees, and we just bungeed them in the back of the bike. Perfect. Question number 9. Where did you stay? So we stayed almost exclusively in Airbnbs. Why? First, centrally located. Next, the price is okay. And then perhaps most important, they included kitchens, so we could eat there at least one meal a day, sometimes two, and more often than not, they contained a place like a washing machine where we could wash our clothes. Very important when you're cycling. Question number 10, can you bring your bikes onto trains? So we were a little bit worried about this, about should we reserve in advance and so on. Here's what we found. In the month of May anyway, there are trains that go through the Loire River Valley, the local train that stops in all the towns and villages and cities. And it's frequent, it's cheap, and it's comfortable, and they almost always have cars where you can store your bike. Few things to think about. First, often you have to take your bag off of the bike and then hook it onto a hook in the train. Then if your bike's very heavy, or if you're in an e-bike, I don't know how you're going to do that. Some trains were like that, some cars, others, they weren't like that. Next, in smaller towns and villages, they only stop there for a minute. And, the doors open, people get off, people get on, doors closed, and they're gone. If you're not that well organized, as we were not, our first time kind of doing this, then you may find the doors closed before you can get your bike and all your stuff off. We ended up at the next station, another 25 kilometers away or whatever. So ensure that you're ready to go a minute or two before you arrive at that station. Very important. What was the best place? What was the best place you visited? Question number 11. For me, I really enjoyed Tours and Orléans and Saumur. They had incredible museums, castles, things to do, things to see, great food, wonderful wine, everything you want to do in those places. I thought they were just great. Question number 12. Was maybe a place that wasn't that great? Well, to be honest with you, I personally, just a matter of opinion, didn't really like Amboise that much. Obviously it's a beautiful place and so on, but it is very, very touristy. And so it's a little bit more expensive. The kind of places you see are very nice and everything, the castles, etc., etc. Everything's okay. It's just kind of touristy and kind of Disney-ificated. Is that a word? A little bit. Question number 13. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in bikepacking in the Loire River? Well, a few things. Number one, you may consider doing some training. We didn't. Um, Muscles were okay, but really hurt. Next, if you are going, we went from the west to the east. And the reason why is because we hoped that the uphill grade would be very, very shallow and that the wind would be at our back, coming off the ocean, pushing us into the center of the country. Here's what we learned. First, yeah, it's not uphill by any means, but there's just a very slight grade that goes up. Very slight. Because of that, you can't really coast. You're not stopping, so you're always pedaling. Okay? Maybe not a problem for you. For us, after a while, it got a bit tiring. Next, the wind, which we thought would be at our back, wasn't. It was often, we're going against the wind. So we're kind of going uphill a little bit, and we're going against the wind. And so that wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. So we took our bikes, we put them on a train, and we went west, or east, I should say. Then we started going west, and it was a lot better. Here's advice. Start from the east. Go to the west, towards the ocean. That slight downhill, very slight downhill, it's just so much better. Really, that's what I think. Question number 14. Did you find France expensive when compared to other Western European countries? Yes and no. Restaurants are expensive. We were spending, for two of us with some wine, some food, especially kind of local French food restaurants, we were finding that we were spending 50 to 60 euros. It's a lot of money if you're there for a month. So that's why we tended to go to Asian restaurants. Really good food and really half the price. Okay, that's one. Accommodation's cheaper than Canada for sure. A little bit similar to other Western European countries, maybe a bit more expensive. We were spending between, say, 80 at the bottom end, and you could find cheaper than that, but I don't know if you want to. 80 euros to about 140 euros at the top end that we were spending. And we've stayed in a lot of great places, really fantastic. So the price of that is what, half price compared to what you would get in Canada for a similar thing. So that's really good. And transportation was quite cheap. That train I was talking about, the local train, you can get a ticket for 5 euros, 6 euros, that kind of thing. And, you're going to go, 20, 30 kilometers. Very good. And finally, question number 15. What did you do with your bikes at the end of the trip? Good question. So, of course, we're not bringing them to Canada. The bikes weren't that great. I mean, they were just okay. Chinese made. I had a 7 gear. Marilyn had a 21 gear. And they're the kind of bikes that in Canada you might buy at Canadian Tire. Maybe you know what I mean. So we didn't want to bring them back, that's for sure. Our original plan was to buy them from Decathlon, and in France at least, Decathlon will buy your bike back from you and give you, if it's in good condition, they'll give you 40% of what you paid for it, which is a pretty good deal. As I said, sold out. So we're stuck with these bikes and didn't know what to do with them. Couldn't find any bike store that was willing to buy them back from us, at least in Tours, where we ended our biking. So, what did we do? We found a store called Veloop, Veloop. And Veloop in Tours, it looked like maybe it was an organization that collected bikes and maybe gave them to people in need. That was the impression I had from a quick view of their website. Turns out that that's not at all what they do. You bring your bike over there and then they sell your bike for you on consignment. Woo! So they gave us 70% back. They sold our bikes pretty quick. In the end, and And, you know, we got the cash. In the end, we paid more or less about 1,000 Canadian, more or less, for the bikes, and we got 700 back. Oh, so nice. Yeah, that was a great surprise. And so I hope you've enjoyed this short video of 15 questions and answers about bike packing in the Loire River Valley in 2025. If you either disagree with anything I've said because you've got more experience than we do, or your experience was different, or that you'd like to contribute in some way, by all means, put it in the comments below. Be nice. And if you have any advice on your own, for example, train more than we did. But I'm kind of interested in you if you are also like us, that is an older couple who went and did this as we did. If you did it like we did it work out for you? How was it? Maybe you can answer some of these questions too. So, thank you for watching.